And one of the things we have to do is take the Strength Finders test. And one of Heather's main qualities was input. It should have maybe also been output, but she loves collecting information and sharing the information and things that she learns with others. She's very, very good at this, always challenging herself, so learning and doing new things. And she also wrote in another one of those fantastic touchy-feely classes that we have the opportunity to do, that in her 5-year plan, she's going to fall in love, move to Brazil, get her heart broken, and come back here. So after she shows you what she did for the last 2 years, let's hold her to the next 5 years. Heather.
Thank you. Everyone was fun my trip to Brazil. Let me know after. So, hello, my name is Heather Kerrick, and I'm a product designer. And as many people in the room know, the usual follow-up question to this is, oh, so what do you design? Okay, we're all friends here, so I'm going to be honest, I really hate this question. Especially as a student, part of my goal here was to try all sorts of things. I don't know what I don't know, so I try things that kind of were all over the place, and so feeling defined by what I chose to design was a really uncomfortable position. But it's a really fair question, and honestly, it's the question we've been posed to answer today. But as a designer, I've chosen to reframe the question for today to why do you design? And so I think one of the most obvious reasons is to solve a user's problem. This is human-centered design. That's what we spend the first 2 quarters really learning how to do. So one of my first projects was with David Bordeaux in that mind-blowing class with Danny and Amy in the human values class. And in this project, we were trying to design for undergraduates of the future. So 5 years from now, when the Internet of Things has actually happened for once, and how would we design products for those undergrads? Because it would take that long for this product to go into development anyhow. So we made this sort of smart wearable to help undergraduates manage their time and their energy and stop switching tasks back and forth. So this is a really fun project I worked on with David, and it was one of my introductions to need finding, which we then took the next quarter with Michael Berry and Anne to really go in depth with it. So these classes really taught us how to know what the users need. What are those problems that warrant design? And in my winter quarter, I also took design for extreme affordability. So I went to Africa and talked to cocoa farmers. So having that need finding experience is really useful. And I designed with my team this new hand tool for cocoa farming. And for those who don't know about cocoa farming, you use it to split pods open. This guy's name is Nikuri. He's from Cote d'Ivoire but lives in Palo Alto. So he kindly sort of advised us locally, because designing for Africa from Palo Alto is a little tricky. And over the last year, people were really taken by this project. And there's a gentleman who's been helping us make professional versions of this. And these are actually, this is one of them. And it's on its way to Cote d'Ivoire right now for testing with cocoa farmers. And that's been a really gratifying experience, taking something from this spring break trip last year to talking to people to building together these prototypes, and are we really solving these problems, are we really helping people, and then making this final object and presenting it last year, and having that not just end, like it kept going, and that rarely happens in school. So that's been a really gratifying experience. Another problem that I tried solving is the forever problem of tangled headphones. If anyone's ever owned headphones, you know this thing happens. You put them in your pocket all night, you take them out, they're a rat's nest. Apparently someone's written a math paper about why that happens. I haven't read it, but I decided to redesign headphones entirely. Instead of making a little add-on piece that you could wrap your headphone around, why can't headphones afford wrapping? Kind of like your MacBook has those little clips on the brick. So in Craig Milroy's CNC class, I learned how to CNC the mold and also injection mold it, and over-mold it over headphones. And I think I was the first person to try over-molding in this way, where you actually have something sticking out of the mold, so that was a nice unknown. Which worked out. I only broke 30 pairs of headphones in the process. It does, it's alive. And, but another reason to design is to learn and to explore. So in the machine shop class, a lot of folks have talked about, I made this board game. And I wanted to make something that I would keep forever. I knew I was going to put a lot of time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. And I thought that a game was something that would actually stay with me. It's something, my mom has a brass tic-tac-toe board that we've grown up with. This is sort of my version of that. And there's 84 unique pieces in this project, so this is definitely an experience in taking on a lot to do, and I learned how to turn and how to mill and some sheet metal forming, so I really wanted to learn as much as I could. And this is a great project. It was really gratifying having this finished object, but it also showed me that I could change things around me. I could make things beyond IKEA furniture. I could actually take a piece of metal and turn it into a shape that I wanted to, and that agency was really, really powerful. And I know that's why they make us take the class first order, but it really did change the way that I moved forward and thought about design. So I also kind of, on this little toy riff, I made these building blocks, which was also really fun exploration in form and shape and engagement. I wanted to make something that you would look at and want to play with. I also learned more engineering. I'm a mechanical engineer undergrad, but I never really used a motor. I knew how to solve things on paper, but actually getting something to work was a whole different animal. And so with David and Elizabeth and an undergraduate, we built the Winklebot, which is a little robot that goes through a Bitcoin-themed obstacle course. And it was so incredible to actually make something that moved. And we coded it, and we soldered things. If you had told me the quarter before to solder anything, I would have been like, I'll just do a different project. And so it was really great to learn that I could do that. And yeah, look, yeah, David, it worked. And so that was sort of like the machine shop class where it really showed me that I don't need to be afraid of these things, that I can move forward and I can design things that use these technologies. And one lesson that I learned that I think was really important was fall of this quarter was where the line is. One thing we always do in this program is we take on a lot. We take extra classes for no credit and try to do all the things and juggle it, and eventually that breaks. And this fall, I tried doing way too many things and wasn't happy with any of my work. And I realized that part of one thing design really needs is your attention and your care. And so this winter, I sort of made a pledge to not do that for once. And I never took form giving because of design friction affordability and the Winklebot, those conflicted. And so I decided to do my own illuminating objects. So I worked with Gabrielle, we became like gym buddies, but for making, and we just worked on personal projects. And every week we hold each other accountable. And it was such an amazing experience to do something for myself. And this project was actually like a year in the making. I started playing with light the summer before, and then my personal statement had some light in it. And so actually just experimenting and letting that drive my process instead of coming in knowing like, I need to solve this problem, I need to make this thing, was a really cool experience to know that that process could work. And so this was my illuminating object. It's a wall sconce that takes advantage of the optical properties of the light traveling through the acrylic and the on-off switches by pressing the top of the piece of acrylic, kind of like snapping out a candle. I also, from that experience, learned how great it was to do projects on my own. And in the first year's art class, they did a silversmithing project. And I figured out that if I could carve some wax, I could sneak in and get my stuff poured at the same time. So I just made time, and I made this ring. It's a feather. My name is Heather. So it was sort of a nice going full circle, but it was great to make something for myself, to try this whole new process. And I've definitely learned that in the rest of my life, I need that. I need something that I'm doing for me, and not just for my job or for a client. And so this is my personal statement. For those of you who are at personal statements, it was the tent. For those of you that weren't at personal statements, it was a tent. And inside there was a sea of sequins on the ground, and everyone was given a small flashlight. And when you walked in and put the flashlight on the ground, the entire tent would illuminate with sparkles. And it was a really cool experience. And it was great watching people engage with it. Everyone really liked it. I wasn't sure how people would feel, and design isn't really done until it's engaged with. And so it was great to see people really enjoying it and waiting in line to go inside. And what one person told me was when they were in there that they were transported to another planet. And then I had this moment, this aha moment where I realized I just designed a world and a portal to that world. That's really cool. And I realized that that's a lot of what design is, and that's the kind of design that I want to do. I want to design to shape the world. And so in the Design Garage project that Brandon already talked about, we designed new respirators. Our whole project with the wandering earlier in the year was about behavior change and safety and how to get people to engage with safety gear in a more meaningful way and how to get people to actually wear a respirator that isn't terrible. We also made the pizza oven that you're going to see probably 2 more times, and we shaped the courtyard. That was really, it's really altered the space that we live in and the way that we engage with that space. And another project I did with Xander and with Kevin was trying to tackle sustainability. It's a problem that really bothers us, but it's big and scary, and like, how do you engage with that? And so we made IKEA furniture out of salvaged materials and then went to IKEA and asked people how they felt about it until 2 hours later, IKEA finally noticed we were there and kicked us out. And it was just really great trying to figure out like what role we can have as designers in changing this problem that we really cared about. And finally, a class I took this quarter was ethics, and I did a project on ethics in product design, and I realized that I really want to shape the way designers view their role in society. And like, I want to be really intentional about what I do, and not just the consequences of something that I make failing, but what are the consequences of it succeeding? What's the world going to look like with 1 million of something that you just made? Is that good? And so I made, instead of writing a final paper, I made a blog where I have a series of articles. You're welcome to go check it out. I'll send it out on the list. It's something I'd really like to continue in my professional world, in my professional life, is just keeping an eye on this and just chewing through it, because there's some really important questions that I think we as designers need to be asking ourselves, and I think it's part of how we shape the world around us. And so that was my my big last project in this program. And with that, I'd like to thank pretty much everybody, all of my instructors, all of my class, my family. Thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks.